Hey y'all, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today we will kick off Women's History Month with Parade All-American, Honorable Mention Prep All-American, Adidas All-American, Louisiana Tech Hall of Famer Lori McIntyre. Lori, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, I have known you 23 years, and I never knew all of that about you until I started doing research about your career. I mean, I knew you were like baller and everything, but I was proud to call you my friend, but I didn't even know you were as dope as you are. I'm sorry. I had no clue.
Well, I appreciate that, but it was so long ago. I appreciate that.
You'll leave it at that.
I'm going to leave it at that.
So, Laura, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you've been up to these days.
Well, I'm homegrown, native of Jackson, Mississippi, attended Jim Hill High School, circulated to Louisiana Tech on a basketball scholarship, won a few championships there, played overseas for a season, came back to the States, got a job in L.A., lived out there for a few years, and I moved to Atlanta almost 30 years ago, and have been working primarily as a real estate paralegal since that time.
All right, that's cool. So let's get into the sports thing. Laura, you know, you played for one of the most iconic names in women's basketball, Leon Barmore. Can you tell us how it was playing for him, and what did you learn that you still apply to your life today?
Wow, Coach Barmore is probably the most knowledgeable coach I've ever been around. I can't believe there's anyone that knows more X's and O's than he does. So he's very knowledgeable, but he's super, super duper intense. And I was prepared for his intensity growing up in a household with 5 brothers and sisters. My mother was a little intense, so his level of intensity wasn't a surprise, nor did it put a lot of fear in me, but I was ready for it. So my mom got me ready for him without me knowing it.
Hey, Miss Gloria.
Hey.
And so how has women's basketball grown since your playing days, rather?
Well, I would think the biggest thing is the exposure. During the time when I played, you would be lucky to get the championship game on a major market network. You've got social media, you've got ESPN to the 10th power now, and there's so many outlets. Not to mention you've got the success of the Tennessees, obviously the UConn program in the state of Mississippi State. So I think just the natural growth of the game has made it more of a more marketable product, and you've got more people watching it now, which is awesome.
Do you think, speaking of, you know, you said it's more exposure, do you think Title IX had an impact on any of that?
Well, I think everything has its beginnings, and the basic thing with Title IX that I believe, just women having the opportunity to compete and to participate in sports on an intercollegiate level is the beginning of it all, and it naturally will evolve to where it is now. It's going to continue to grow, at least in my opinion. I believe it will.
And you were a product of Title IX. Is that correct?
That's correct. Again, just the opportunity to be able to go to college on a scholarship on par with our male counterparts and to be able to compete and participate was something that generation before me never had available to them. So I'm grateful for that.
That's cool. And when you see the game now, how do you view it? I mean, is it good for women's basketball? Like when you have 3 to 5 dominant teams, such as UConn, do you think is it good or bad for women's basketball, or what do you think?
Well, I do. I think it's a testimony to what Gino has done over time. When they first started out, they weren't the best program out there, but he's built it over time, and this is where they are. And to me, it's a calling card to everyone else to basically get your game up.
Mm-hmm. You do think it's good? I'm sorry.
Oh, absolutely, I do. One thing I will say during the time that I came up, it was like a code of conduct. You didn't run the score up on people. You exercise all this decorum. Gino is from a whole different era. He's like, let's get them. We'll run the score up. If you can't keep up, that's your problem. I would love to have had that opportunity.
Right. So compare a dominant program at Louisiana Tech to a similar dominant program at UConn.
Wow. I think a lot of the foundations of the programs are the same. Obviously, I didn't play there, so I don't know a whole lot about Gino in particular.
Right.
But I do have a teammate who is actually over the officials in the conference that they play in. And she had an opportunity to go watch them practice over the years. And he walked up to her and said, hey, bet you haven't seen a practice like that before. And she said, actually, I have. I participated in quite a few of them. And she kind of dropped the mic on him like that. But I think when you're playing on that level, there are some things that are just automatically similar. I think your structure, your coaches, the attention to detail, obviously having the players makes a difference as well. And Gino's been able to recruit the best players in the country for the last 10 or 15 years. Back in the day, Tech had a lot of competition in getting those number one players, so it wasn't the same level of players, but we were able to all come together and working toward a common goal, which was winning a national championship at the end of the year, and I think we did a great job of doing that.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm thinking about Gino and UConn, and of course I'm thinking about little Mama Sita, Kobe's daughter, and how Gigi, she wanted to play for UConn, and maybe 5-6 years from now, seeing her, had she lived to see her play at UConn, I think because she was Kobe's daughter and the intensity that she played at an age of 13, I think she would have really brought a lot of more exposure, especially to the WNBA. Because, even though we know the WNBA has been around since '96, it's not showing the exposure like the NBA would. And I think her name alone, you know what I'm saying, would have probably brought a whole different exposure to the WNBA possibly.
I agree with that. That's a great point. And I honestly believe that Kobe was on the precipice of taking us into a whole nother level in terms of women's basketball. So many other NBA athletes they certainly have the financial resources to do it, but he was going to put his money where his mouth was because he had a daughter engaged. And I could see the game literally exploding because of his involvement. And hopefully someone will pick up that torch and carry it, because that's really what the women's game needs. It's going to need someone who appreciates the level of play that the women's game brings. I believe John Wooden said it's the most fundamental form of basketball that you're going to see. It's not played above the rim, it's played below the rim, but the women's game brings all of the fundamentals to the forefront. And I hope that I will live to see that in my lifetime.
I think we will. I really do. I think because you and I have discussed this. One of my mentors, I don't know what it is, but I guess because I didn't really grow up watching it, I'm like, I'm not really into chick ball. And he was like, chick ball is where it's at, and you need to get on board. And, I usually watch it during March Madness, and, especially the championship, because but they be balling. They play some of the best basketball I've ever seen in my life. So I'm going to get more engaged. I promise. So
I hope you do.
I will. But, Lori, I was, thinking, okay, so yes, you were a JPS Jim Hill graduate. I'll let you slide. I'm a Provine Ram. My parents both went to Jim Hill. So, I love you people. Tigers forever. Exactly. But I wanted to, what is the state of women's basketball in Mississippi? How important is it in state to do well, such as Mississippi State? The JSU Lady Tigers, they're on a roll right now, and even a team that you once wanted to be a part of, Delta State. What do you think about basketball in Mississippi, women's basketball?
Well, I think Mississippi has always had a bevy of talent there, and unfortunately for some of the athletes, they don't get the national exposure that others have and have moved on to other programs outside of the state. But you have to commend coaches at Mississippi State for the job they've done putting Mississippi on a national platform to make it more attractive for kids to want to come to their program. And I really think that's the important thing. It's what you're doing, a short-term plan or a long-term plan for longevity in terms of growing your program and attracting the in-state talent. Because for me, I wanted to play in-state, but I didn't see the program's development branching beyond where it was. And because when I came out, Delta State's program was kind of on the downside. So, I think that there's plenty of opportunity for growth. And again, with the national exposure that these young ladies are receiving now, the sky's the limit.
Oh, absolutely. And, I was, as you were talking, I read, an article on you, and it was talking about as far as, that was your goal to go to Delta State. But when you went to a game when they were playing Louisiana Tech, and Tech just kind of like, I guess, clobbered them, and you was like, oh no, you made a decision, right? Was it that's when you made your decision to go to Louisiana Tech?
Well, it was something I had never seen. And again, Delta State was the standard bearers for excellence in women's basketball during that time with the Lucy Harrises and those players. Right. And I had seen them play the Coliseum in Jackson and seen them just obliterate people. And I'm like, wow, maybe one day I'll be good enough to go there. But my recruiting trip, when I went to Louisiana Tech, they were playing Delta State. And, of course, this was not the Lucy Harris-led team, but it was still the icon Delta State. It was like a scrimmage game. They beat the brakes off of them. And I'm like, wow. And then the other part that was just mind-blowing for me, I'd never been in an arena that was overflowing to capacity. Fire marshals were literally there like, hey, we got to keep a check on the people coming in the building. The gym was packed. So that impressed me. And to play in front of those fans at that level was just, that took it over the top for me.
Cool. And I talked to you about this the other day. One of my favorite stories, but first of all, you did not start, first of all, you were you were one of the top defenders in the country, number one. But you didn't start off as a defender. Can you give a little information about that? And then I want to talk about when you played with Texas, when you played against Texas Longhorns. That's one of my favorite stories. But how did you start out as a defender?
Well, coming out of high school, I was a scorer, rebounder. I pretty much a pretty decent overall player, but I wasn't labeled a defensive stopper, so to speak. And when I got to college, you got number one players from every city conglomerated on this particular team. So everybody can't score the ball. Everyone can't shoot. So it's basically defining your role and finding a role that works for you and one that will help the team excel. So it wasn't a role that I was told I was going to do or asked if I was going to do. It just kind of morphed into it. I started to notice that every game I was guarding other teams' best scorer. We're talking about the LaTanya Pollards of Long Beach, the Lynette Wooders of Kansas, the Denise Currys of UCLA. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? Why am I being punished? And my roommate, Angela Turner, she told me, she said, "Lo, this isn't punishment. He trusts you."
Wow.
And then when she said it that way, the light bulb went off. at that time, and I just embraced the role. And I said, if this is a role I have to play for us to get to where we ultimately want to be, I embrace it wholeheartedly, and I'm not worried about anything else. So that's
cool.
kind of how that morphed into what it was.
But tell my favorite story when you guys played Texas Longhorn in the NCAA regionals. Tell me what happened in that game.
Well, the Texas Longhorns had a nationally ranked team themselves, and they were a top 10 team during that time. And we played them in a regional game, which is, I think, right before going to the semifinals. Mm-hmm. Can't remember the exact setup. But anyway, one of my closest friends, and we're still friends to this day, Annette Smith, who was their All-American, their leading scorer, their leading rebounder, their leading shot blocker. She was their everything. She played post position. And she basically had torched our center with 18 points in the first half. Now, I was guarding a perimeter All-American, and I think she was averaging like 14 or 15 for the season, and she didn't score anything in the first half.
Wow.
So I went to the coach and said, hey, Coach, I got a net. I'll take it. Now, I knew that I was biting off a big piece of the apple because playing the post and playing on the wing there's just totally different dynamics. But I got in there. I guarded her. It was hard because we're friends. But once you step on that court, it's business.
It's business.
It's business, yeah. But she finished the game with those 18 points, and I was proud to say I didn't let her score anything. We talk about that to this day.
Well, what's so beautiful? You were in her wedding.
yeah. I've been in her wedding. I've visited her. She's visited me. We've been, like I said, we've been friends over the years. But it's not personal. It was just business.
That's right. I love that story. I mean, 18 points, and that was it for her, and done. So, but I know you played against Hall of Famer Cheryl Miller, and HBO just a documentary came out on the 10th. Women of Troy is airing on HBO. Can you tell me about playing against the USC team, and going up against Cheryl?
Sure. USC probably had during that time they had the biggest lineup and the most storied lineup during that time. You got Cheryl Miller, who came from a family of athletes. Her father even played baseball or basketball. I'm not really sure. But you got the McGee twins, Pam and Paula. You got Cynthia Cooper, who no one knew about until she came into the WNBA. And then you got their point guard, Rhonda Wyndham, who wound up being an executive with the Sparks. Cheryl was, I guess she was a trailblazer from a standpoint of her height, her ball dominance during that time. You didn't see 6'2" guards during that particular time. So she could handle the ball. She could run the floor. She wasn't the fastest, but she was very agile, and she could jump. Mm-hmm. So you had all that athleticism in someone who's ball dominant, which made it really difficult to defend her. And a lot of times I just felt like I just needed to get in the way. If I could keep her from getting 30 points, and if she got 25, 21, anything less than her average, I did my job, because they had a plethora of athletes on their team that could cause problems. Right. And again, like I said, to me, the most dangerous person on their team was Cooper. And she didn't have a reputation, but that girl was tough as nails. And wow. She grew up in the LA community, the Watts community in LA. So she had a natural toughness to her game. And it really didn't come to fruition until she got into the WNBA. But Coop was actually my favorite player on their team, because she embraced everything that women's basketball meant to me. The toughness, the skill, she was a pretty girl, all that stuff. She embraced the whole thing. But right. They were a tough team. And my senior year, we lost 2 games, and those 2 games were to USC.
Wow.
I know up close and personal, they're tough.
I can't imagine. So what are some things you would pass along to young women athletes in basketball or any sport today?
Well, the main thing that I would want them to know is that they should, if they have a dream of pursuing anything, go after it. You have so much around you to help elevate you to whatever station in life you want to be, whether it's golf, tennis, lacrosse, being a CEO of a company, whatever it is. Pursue your dreams with all vigor, and don't let anyone dissuade you from your goals. Work hard. Be a student of whatever your craft is. And then sometimes you have to learn how to find your role in wherever you wind up landing. It may not be the top dog. You may have to go through a process to get to that level, but pursue your dreams, work hard, learn your craft, and eventually you'll see the reward to go with that.
Good deal. I like that. And what would 2020 Lori Scott tell 18-year-old Lori Scott?
Wow. I would say you can't make everyone happy. But during the time that I was being recruited, I was a kid that just enjoyed playing basketball. To me, it was just a game. It was just like me playing in the backyard with the guys in the neighborhood. Right. But it got real when I was a junior in high school, and I said, why are these people coming at me? I didn't understand it. I was naive, so to speak. And I'm thinking, at the end of this, I'll make a decision that everybody will be happy for me, and I will go on, and life will be great. That's not the case. Right. My decision literally divided a town in terms of the attitude toward me. People were upset because I went out of state. People were upset because I didn't go to this school or that. And Mom told me, she said, honey, you cannot please everybody. This has to be your decision. So I had to, that's when I had to put on my big girl panties and say, hey, I got to do what's best for me. So that's what I would tell the younger Lori.
I like that.
Can't please everybody. Do what's best for you.
That is true. I love it. I love it. Lori, it has been such a pleasure speaking with you today. Next time you come home or I'm in the A, we'll definitely go grab dinner and laugh like we always do.
I will enjoy that thoroughly. And I'm so proud of you and your format. This is awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Please tell my boys, your young men, TT Sonja said hi, and I love them.
Will do. And please tell your lovely mother I said hello.
Please say her name for me. What's her name?
Miss Phyllis.
I love it. Oh, God. And please tell Miss Gloria I said hello as well.
Will do.
That's our show for today. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, She Say Sports, and IG, She Say Sports 23. Until next time, this is Sonja with She Say Sports. I'll see you on the radio.